Okay, today's lesson is 6.5, Identifying Conic Sections. We're bringing it all together, and I wanted to give you a little visual of what we've been talking about. Why are they called conic sections? Because they all describe the intersection of a plane and a double cone. So we have a parabola, we have a circle and ellipse, and then we have the hyperbola. Okay, now today we're going to be looking at those forms of conics that are in standard form as opposed to conic form, if you want to call it that, or general form. Delta Math calls it conic form, so that's what we're more familiar with. So this is when everything has been multiplied out. This is what you're used to seeing and what we have dealt with, okay? And hopefully you notice that up here in this ax squared plus bxy, that bxy we've actually never had before. We won't have to worry about it, but it is what rotates the conic section off of the horizontal or vertical. And I'm sure you're thankful that we're not doing that. So all the ones that we're going to see aren't going to have that xy term in them. So for that reason, we can look at an equation like this and know which of these it is immediately. Okay, so the characteristics you need to be familiar with, that hopefully you already know, is that a circle has two variables that are squared, and there's always a plus sign in between them. Okay, the difference is A and C are the same. That's how we know it's a circle. If A and C are not the same, then it's going to be an ellipse. Okay, so keep in mind, those are very closely tied together. A and C, meaning these two numbers in the front, are not the same. It's an ellipse. If they are the same, it's a circle. Okay, if there is only one variable squared, then we know that it's a parabola. This one, the x is squared. This one, the y is squared. And last but not least, what we talked about yesterday, our hyperbolas are two variables being squared with a minus sign. So what you've got to be able to do is look at a conic section and tell what kind of conic section it is from that above. So I look at these two things and I see that I have two variables that are squared and there's a plus sign in between them. But I do notice that A does not equal C. And since A does not equal C, I know that it's an ellipse and not a circle. That's all you have to do to begin with. All right, look at another one. There are two of these. What type of conic does this represent? Okay, I got two variables that are squared and I have a minus sign. So I'm sure you're beating me to the punch. It's a hyperbola. What type of conic section does the following equation represent? I don't have any variables that are squared. So if there are no squared variables, y'all, then this is not a conic section. So that's one of the options, and I want to make sure you were aware of that. Okay, so the tough part of the lesson is being able to take it from that standard form to the conic form. Okay, so this one starts off this next type of problem. What type of conic is represented by the equation? Again, I'm looking at it. How many variables are squared? There's only one that's squared, so I know it's a parabola. Okay, now I have to go write the equation of the conic in simplified conic form. Okay, so when you're doing that with a parabola, the first thing that you want to do is basically isolate the variable that's being squared. So I'm going to take this 17 to the other side. That's going to give me x minus 17. Okay, then on the other side, I'm going to factor out that 2. So that's going to, and I'm going to have parentheses. So when I factor it out, I'm going to have y squared, and then I'm going to have plus 6y, and then I'm going to complete the square and add a blank to that. Okay, so add a blank, and whatever I add to this side, I have to add to that side. But remember that this blank here is inside parentheses in which everything has been multiplied by 2. So that means it's going to look like this when you put it in there. And so we've talked about, how do I complete the square? I'm going to do half of 6, which is 3. I write it as 3 squared, and on this side, on the left side, I'm going to multiply it out. Now, I do it like that, I'm going to tell you in a minute, because this makes this factoring very easy. Okay, so over here, I'm going to simplify 17 minus 17 plus 18, of course, is x minus 1. Do not need the parentheses. And so if you write it like this, y'all, when you factor it, it's always going to be the first term, this one, without the exponent. So it's going to be a y. You get something from every term. So from the first term, I get the y without the exponent. From the middle term, I'm going to get the sign. And from the last one, I'm going to get that without the exponent. So it's going to be 2 times the quantity of y plus 3 squared. Okay, now our standard form, or excuse me, our conic form of a parabola doesn't have a number on the side with the squared. So you're going to divide by 2 when you put it in there and get 1/2. Quantity of x minus 1 equals y plus 3 squared. And that is all you have to do, because we spent the last time doing all the graphing. So we're just taking it from this form, general form, standard form. Different books call it different things. You got to be aware. But from this form to the conic form, and we're using the method of completing the square. Okay, one last one. What type of conic is represented by the equation below? So you're looking at it. Again, I got 2 squared variables, and I have a minus sign. So it is a hyperbola. And again, I chose to do this example because this one often trips people up when you're trying to complete the square. So when I set this up, y'all, we're going to put our x's together. We're going to put our y's together, and we're going to take the constant to the other side. So it's going to look like that when I set it up. Okay? And I'm taking the 9 out of both x terms. That's why I have x squared minus 8x plus a blank to complete the square. Then I got my y's together. I'm factoring out a negative 16. So when I factor out a negative 16 out of 128, I'm left with minus 8. And if things don't come out nicely on this side, y'all, that's where your mistake is. So be aware of that. Okay, again, going to add something. My 256 I brought over from the other side. And this is my first blank, in which everything has been multiplied by 9. And the second blank, everything was multiplied by negative 16. So in each case, I'm taking half of 8 and I'm squaring it. I ignore the negative because I'm going to square it. Whenever you square a negative number, it's always positive. So again, half of 8 squared, 4 squared is 16 in both of those cases. So my factoring is going to give me 9. And I have again x minus 4 quantity squared, and then y minus 4 quantity squared again equals 144. Y'all, the problems are somewhat contrived, so you'll know that you're doing things correctly if 9 times 16 is 144 most of the time. Okay, but if you remember, all the problems that we did had to equal 1, so what are we going to do? Divide everything by 144, and so that's going to give us our final answer. 9 over 144 is 16. 16 over 144 is 9. So this is the conic form of our hyperbola. Okay, thank you so much for watching, y'all. I hope you have a great day. Please email me if you have any questions. Thank you so much.